All right, welcome back to the Dolphins Country podcast. On today's episode, we're going to be reacting to the Dolphins' 16-13 overtime win in Madrid over the Washington Commanders. Gotta wake up bright and early for this game this morning out here on the East Coast. But before we dive into that, please be sure to like and subscribe to the YouTube channel or Spotify at Dolphins Country Pod on both YouTube and Spotify. You can watch and listen whichever way you prefer. But let's get into it. All right, so the Dolphins won the game today. I'm gonna cut right to it. That was pretty embarrassing. I mean, it's just straight up. If you want to give me all this Dolphins playoff run stuff, you gotta look better than that. That was really pathetic. It was one of those games for people who didn't watch the game. I mean, I'm gonna get to the recap here, obviously, but for people who did not watch the game, I feel like I'm worse off as a football fan having spent 3 hours watching that game. That was how disgusted I was watching it. Not that they were just an abomination and didn't deserve to win or anything like that, but it was pretty pathetic to watch, specifically late game situation, clock management, just situational execution. That is just like they look like a 3-7 football team, which is what their record was heading into this game. So it's not like I'm surprised by their effort or by their execution because they gave us a 10-game sample size heading into this game of what they are, and for large stretches of the game, they looked like who they are. So. Again, we'll get to the recap here. First 3 quarters of the game, Dolphins did not score a touchdown. They were down 13-6 heading in the fourth quarter in Madrid. Failed to get into the end zone in the first 3 quarters. It took an Ollie Gordon 1-yard touchdown for us to finally. That was the only touchdown of the game for the Dolphins. So really a pathetic effort. Not effort. I mean, the effort was there, but a pathetic, showing across the pond in Europe in the first ever game in Spain. In front of those fans, just not a great football game. I'm just being honest with you. Again, you can hate on it all you want. You can be like, why are you criticizing the team? They won the game. They faced a backup quarterback in Washington with a bunch of injuries for the Commanders. I mean, that was really not a good Washington team that we played today. I mean, and again, by the way, the next 2 games are also not against good teams. So gear up. So, but let's get to the game here from the start. First drive for the Dolphins looked very good, looked very promising. They ran the ball very efficiently. Achane had a couple of big runs. I liked, again, the 6 offensive line stuff with Dan Brunskill. They had him line up a fullback on one of the plays, so that was really cool. Patrick Paul was good again. They actually had a lot of success running to the right side today behind Larry Bourne and those guys. So at least early, and I'm talking about early. The run game was working early. It didn't work as much later in the game, especially when the field condensed and we got in goal-to-go situations. Then we had some issues running the ball. But early on, the run game was very good, and that set up obviously what you saw out of Tua early, which was some hard play action, where he was really good throwing over the middle of the field, locating Waddle, locating Malik Washington, locating all those other guys. So again, early Tua looked really good. Offense was clicking. We got a field goal in the first drive. The short yardage situation was tough for both teams today. Washington, similarly to our drive, and both teams' first drives in the first quarter were good, and then they got stalled by short yardage stuff. Where for us, I believe it was a delay a game, either delay a game or procedure, but whatever it was we had to kick a field goal in the first quarter. Washington, same thing. They got down near the goal line, I believe, or inside the 20, whatever it was. They got in the red zone, and I believe they had to delay a game. Or again, illegal formation, whatever it was. But it went from 4th and 1 to 4th and 6. And Dan Quinn, as aggressive as he was today, decided to get the field goal. So both teams got a field goal in their opening drive. Both teams got a field goal in the second quarter. So it was 6-6 at halftime. But a lot of the game was short yardage woes. I want to give credit to Kenneth Grant because on that first drive, he made a nice play on 3rd and 1. I want to make another shout out to Minka Fitzpatrick. Jordan Brooks had 20 tackles today. A lot of those guys were making key plays on 3rd and short. So the short yardage stuff defensively was really good. The short yardage stuff offensively, not very good. Again, I do want to get to this. I had it in my notes here. The pass interference call on Jack Jones that Washington was backed up inside their own 5-yard line before the half. We were up 6-3, and Washington was probably not going to do anything in that drive. They were going to. We've had field position game was working. They get a defensive pass interference on a call, on a pass, I should say, that Mariota threw about 20 feet over the head of Deebo Samuel. And Jack Jones isn't even interfering with him. He's not restricting him at all. He was there step for step with him. It was just a little in-breaking glance route. And that ball was A, uncatchable, and B, just wasn't a flag. It was simply not a flag at all. Prolonged their drive, got them out of their own end zone, and they went on to kick a field goal right before the half. So it was a lengthy drive where Tua in the offense just wasn't on the field for like the last 6 or 7 minutes in that first half. And then obviously the Commanders double dipped and got the ball at halftime. But rough ending to the first half. And again, the Dolphins just weren't on the field very much there. And then Washington came out second half, ran the ball all over us, scored a touchdown on that opening drive to Debo. So again, they clicked on the half offensively. The Dolphins were able to get some nice drives going in the second half, but they got stuffed on back-to-back plays in the goal-to-goal situation. So in the late third quarter, 13-6, Dolphins are driving. This is where the play calling kind of lost me a little bit. I'm not going to lie to you. I thought McDaniel was calling a pretty good game. Then in the red zone, he had this just affinity with, we're going to go jumbo, we're going to go heavy. It's been working in short yardage. Can't really hate it, but then he just started spamming it, and it's like, okay, it ain't working right now. All right, you were running with effectiveness in space in that first half. Now we're in a condensed situation. We gotta have to figure out something else. And he was just spamming the runs up the middle, which really weren't going anywhere when we got down inside the 5-yard line. I mean, those Washington linebackers, credit to Bobby Wagner and those guys, credit to that interior defensive line who was missing Deron Payne, but they did a good job. And we got stopped on 4th and goal. That wasn't the first time we got stopped on 4th and goal, by the way. I'll get to the other one late in the fourth quarter with a chance to win the game. But in the late third quarter stage, down 13-6, we went for it on 4th and goal at the 2, tried to throw it in, and I believe Tua just missed Waddle, or it was tipped, I believe. But either way, the first 3 plays before that, when we handed it to Ollie Gordon in the I formation with Alagingo, we just couldn't get hats on hats. Frankie Louvu and Bobby Wagner were just blowing those plays up. And then again, it was another lengthy Dolphin drive that resulted in 0 points. So it was just the first 3 quarters were just pathetic. I mean, really, it was a lot of nice drives by the Dolphins that they just couldn't get in the end zone, which it feels like that's every single time the Dolphins go overseas. They just, don't look good enough. They don't execute enough in situational football. Fourth quarter, you had the Tua ill-advised throw to double coverage, which did not get picked off, which was nice. Then later the drive, you had that nice third down conversion by Tua to Malik Washington. Then again, you had Achane's, again, just the star of the game. Every week, Devon Achane just completely bails this offense out. Even last week against Buffalo, which was the most complete game the Dolphins played all year, the passing game was nothing in the second half. I mean, it really was nothing. We were up 16-0 at halftime, and we were kind of just clinging on to a 16-0 lead over Buffalo for a long stretch there until Achane blew up in those 2 big runs. But other than those 2 big runs for Achane, we were going to stay at 16 points the entire game. So, take that with what you will. But the passing game in the second half has not been good the last 2 weeks. And I'm not blaming Tua. I'm not blaming the receivers. I'm just saying it has not been good. Put the blame where you will. It just hasn't been. So Achane had this incredible play where it's the same thing you saw Tua do, where it's that jet motion and Tua fakes it as if it's like a high snap or something like that. And Achane should have lost 9 yards here, if I'm being blatantly honest. And he turns into a 9-yard gain. It was incredible stuff. And that was the Dolphins' lone scoring touchdown drive, where they were able to eventually plunge in with Ollie Gordon from 1 yard out on 2nd and goal, or rather on 3rd and goal. So they, again, had issues on 1st and 2nd down running it in the end zone. 3rd and goal, they capped it off with 12 minutes to go to tie it up at 13. Then the last 9-10 minutes was just Looney Tunes football. Juju Brents went down with an injury. Washington had a situation where they could have scored a touchdown. It was 13-13 for what seemed like forever. Washington went for it on 3rd and goal, got stuffed by Jordan Brooks and company. Then on 4th and goal, they go for it at the 1 yard line, just like we do. And Zach Ertz stumbles out of the break, and they don't get anything. They try to throw it in just like us with Tua to Waddle, and on 4th and goal at the 1, I think it got tipped, and we didn't get any points on 4th and goal at the 1. For Washington, Ertz just stumbled, and they get no points on 4th and goal at the 1. So just lesson here, the Commanders and Dolphins both did not want to have points in this game. They both were anti-points. Both coaches, both teams just kept going for it on 4th down and short, and both teams just kept failing every single time. So now there's 6 minutes left. It's 13-13. Dolphins have a chance to put it away. Waddle drops a pass right over the middle that would have been a first down. They have to punt. Washington muffs the punt. Miami has it with about 3 or 4 minutes left and change in the plus side of the field. So at Washington's 40-yard line, give or take. So we can milk this clock down, kick a game-winning field goal, and go home happy. But they don't do that. So again, they get goal-to-go situation. Achane gets them down there with some amazing runs. And inside 2 minutes to go, you can play the clocks perfectly here. Just kick a field goal, win the game, or score a touchdown. It'd be nice either way. They go 2nd and goal from the 1, nothing. 3rd and goal from the 1, nothing. 4th and goal from the 1, with a minute to go, you kick the field goal, go up by 3, and put the game in the hands of your defense, which has just been bending but not breaking all game long. Nope. McDaniel does exactly what Washington just did. He goes for it on 4th and goal at the 1, gets absolutely blown up, loses 2 yards, so now it's 1st and 10 for Washington at the 3-yard line. Play had no chance. It just silly stuff. Once again, it just not even close to working. Ollie Gordon tried to surge ahead, lost 2 yards. It was just the whole thing got blown up. I mean, no one was able to get a hat on a hat there. I still don't know what the heck McDaniel was doing going for that on 4th and goal at the 1 with a chance to take the lead. I mean, it's just something you don't do. And really, it should have cost us the game because Washington, I'm thinking, okay, is he thinking that Washington's going to be conservative and run the ball out and just take overtime? And that's why he went for it, because he knows if they didn't get it, they'll pin him at the 1 yard line. And Washington's not going to actually go for the field goal and win the game. Nope, wrong. Washington comes out 20-yard completion, 20-yard completion, then 3rd and 6, a little zig or a little jerk route on 3rd and 6. Mariota finds him, gets out of bounds, gets cross midfield. And now half a minute to go. Washington's in field goal range pretty much. They're borderline in field goal range. They pop back-to-back runs with no timeouts. Then they're kind of going deep, and Mink is there to kind of shield off the deep pass. And they got to go 56-yard field goal, and they miss it. So Washington kind of didn't play the clocks right either. But the fact that they had a chance to walk off in a field goal with no time left, when the Dolphins 30 seconds earlier had it at the 1 yard line with a chance to win the game with a chip shot field goal. I mean, it's unbelievable stuff that the Dolphins really should have lost right there in that scenario. Washington was just kind of like not trying to get closer for their long field goal. The Dolphins just didn't want the field goal from the 1 yard line. Very, very strange stuff. It's like both teams wanted to end the game with a touchdown. We somehow get overtime, and I'm like, oh, I got to watch more football of this. And in overtime, the very first play from scrimmage, Mariota throws a pick right to Jack Jones, who was good today again. He had one defense pass interference call against him, which was, like I said, phantom. He returns it. The Dolphins are in field goal range at this point. They run a couple more times, get into chip shot field goal range, and Riley Patterson makes the field goal. That's the recap. I'm exhausted. Let's get to the actual team now, because that's just the recap of today's game. This team I've now watched 11 games of. They are 4-7. They're not making the playoffs, so I don't want to hear any of that. I'm over the delusions of, well, they're in 2021 season again. You know, they might rattle off 7 wins in a row. Not happening. But they do win this game. They get to 4-7. I can already see they're careening towards a 7-10 finish, because they'll win the next 2 games for sure and get to 6-7, and then they'll lose in Pittsburgh on Monday night in December and be 6-8 and be like, okay, that's it. But to the actual team, and I got crushed on this because I posted on my story a couple weeks ago, or no, it was right before the Bills game last Sunday, that the Dolphins rejected, or they didn't reject an offer for Jaylen Waddle, but they got a first-round pick offer from Buffalo, but they wanted it to be this year's pick for Buffalo, not next year's pick for Buffalo. And I didn't say explicitly trade him to Buffalo, but what I did say was I would take next year's Buffalo first-round pick, not this year's. So the Dolphins' asking price was reportedly this year's Bills pick, this year's draft class. Buffalo's a good team. They're going to be picking in the late 20s probably. I don't know what that pick would do for us. So I was like, no, don't do that. But if you get a 2027 first-round pick for Waddle, I don't know how Buffalo will be next year. They might still be good, but you never know. My point was the 2027 draft class is historically great at receiver. Like, historically great, generationally great at wide receiver. So if you're gonna replace Jaylen Waddle with anybody, that would be the class to do it with. So you can trade a first-round pick for Jaylen Waddle, and I believe that's a more than fair asking price for Jaylen Waddle. Everyone else, these Dolphins fans, for some reason, have a unrealistic expectation that they hold on their players. Like they believe Jaylen Waddle is worth like 2 firsts. Not even close. Like get a clue on what these guys are actually their trade value is worth. Waddle again today just couldn't catch anything. And I love Jaylen Waddle. I love him. I love the guy. But this is not a guy that, I mean, look, DK Metcalf went for a second round pick. And he was extension eligible. Jaylen Waddle's already making a bunch of money with that extension that we gave him. So that extension is going to kick in. So if a team trades for him, they would know that extension is going to be coming. He's going to get paid a lot of money. So you can't just expect him to be worth that much. Like, a first-round pick is good value for a guy of his. Like, he's not a top 10 receiver. Like, this is not. This wouldn't be like a Jamar Chase package. Like, I don't know why people can't get that through their heads. First-round pick is a good offer. So my thing is, I don't care where they trade him to. The whole thing, I got crushed because they were like, you can't trade him to Buffalo. You can't trade him there. In my opinion, I'm making the best move that helps my franchise. I don't care where they're trading. I really don't. And again, they're not trading him, so this is all a moot point. But my point is, I don't care where the offer comes from. If it's a good offer and you're getting value for that player and it helps your franchise, you do that. Period. End of conversation. I believe if Buffalo offered their first-round pick next year, that would be more than enough value for Jaylen Waddle. That's my opinion. If you disagree and you think Jaylen Waddle, you hold him in this high regard that he's this untouchable receiver, then that's on you. That's fine. And again, I love Jaylen Waddle, but a first-round pick for him, that's fair trade, in my opinion. That's just, again, we can go back and forth on that, but that's how I feel about it. Regardless, and I'm not just saying that because today he wasn't good, but he had he just couldn't catch anything late in the game. I mean, it was simple as that. He just couldn't catch anything late in the game. But again, the way the Dolphins fans talk about him, you would think he's this unmovable, franchise-elevating player. And again, I love Achane, but the Dolphins fans say the same exact thing about him. Like, they think he's going to be worth 2 first-round picks. First of all, guys, this is a running back. I mean, prime Christian McCaffrey didn't even go for 1 first-round pick. So the way Dolphins fans talk about Devon Achane, you think this is like a fantasy league or something? Like that running backs just get traded for first-round picks like left and right? That doesn't happen, guys. I mean, I love these guys, but these are skill players. There's a lot of good skill players in the NFL. There's not that many good trench play guys, linebackers, tight ends. Tight ends are skill players, but offensive linemen, guards, centers. I mean, those are the guys that are hard to find. I'm not saying that you can just replace Devon Achane. I'm just saying that skill guys, there's good players on wide receiver, tight end, running backs all over the league. Like, there just is. So you can't say that your franchise cornerstones are Jaylen, Waddle, and Devon Achane, who are skill players. Those are good, really, really great players. But to be like they're untradeable is ridiculous to me. So again, sorry to get off on a tangent there, but my DMs are flooded with people who are saying that you can't trade Devon Achane. That's terrible value for Devon Achane. First of all, a first-round pick is not terrible value for Devon Achane. Like I said, prime Christian McCaffrey did not get traded for a first-round pick. So I don't know what we're talking about here. And again, Achane's like not the biggest guy in the world. He's had injuries in the past, so ridiculous. But regardless, I'm not. The trade deadline has passed. I'm not gonna stand here and debate about trade value for Dolphins skill players for a team that's not really winning games with or without those guys. This team is not that good. They're 4-7 now. They've won 2 games in a row. So all the Dolphins fans now are going to say, well, possible playoffs. You know, we can maybe make a run here. Saints are up next after the bye week. Then the Jets after that. They'll probably be 6-7, and I agree. But this is ultimately what the Dolphins do every single season, and they are careening towards 7-10 right now. I mean, they are steamrolling right to it, and I can see the exact same thing happening. I mean, they're going to pick 13th in the draft again, and they're going to probably run back to McDaniel Tua thing. And again, I'm not anti-Tua, and I'm not anti-McDaniel. I'm just saying I've seen this thing run its course. I can tell you for free that those guys, the peak of the Dolphins with Tua and McDaniel is 2023 season 11-6. That is the best that it will get. All right, that's the harsh reality. So if you run this back next year, do not be coming in predicting anything more than 7 or 8 wins. Just period. We've already seen now this thing run its course. So again, that's the harsh reality of it. These late season wins that are kind of meaningless because they're already out of it are not really going to change my opinion at all. I'll watch the games every week. I'll still be cheering every week. But this was really a pathetic win. Like I really don't feel good about this win at all. I had to wake up early and watch this. I'm already in a mood. And then they just didn't play inspired football at all. So, and again, I still like a lot of players in this team. They have building blocks. They have pieces. So I'm not going to act like I'm a total Debbie Downer here because Patrick Paul is a good player. I like Achane and Ollie Gordon as a 2-horse backfield. Again, I still like Tua, and obviously, I love Jaylen Waddle, but like this notion that Dolphins fans have of you can't be a terrible team and then also be, oh, you can't trade that guy. You can't have it both ways. So the amount of comments I get of like this team is terrible, blow up the whole franchise, blow up the organization, and then also like, oh yeah, you can't trade Achane, you can't trade Waddle, you can't trade any of these guys. It's like, what do you mean? If you can't say this team is terrible, blow it up, and then also be like, yeah, keep the skill players, keep the skill position players that are your franchise cornerstones. Like, that's not how you build a roster. That's not how you build it. If you want to change a culture, you build it inside out. You don't keep the skill guys. And again, I'm not advocating for them to trade Achane or Waddle. I'm just saying it's a little bit ridiculous the way the Dolphins fans talk about this team out of both sides of their mouth a little bit. It's just very strange. Nonetheless, I'll get to wrap it up here. The Dolphins are 4-7. They are 3 games out of a playoff spot. Can't believe I'm talking playoffs right now. But they're going to be 6-7. So I guess I'll just start early here. They're not making the playoffs, and I'll give you 3 reasons why. Not even 3 reasons. I mean, I don't have to even give you that more than one reason, really. And the number one reason is that they're not playoff worthy good. They're not good enough to win 8 games in a row. They've won 2 in a row. They'll have to win the next 6 to even get a chance at 10-7. And right now, the Jaguars are 6-4. They have the last spot. So the Jaguars are sitting at 6-4. They're 3 games ahead of us in the loss column. Here's why the Dolphins can't make it. Like, mathematically, they straight up can't make it. Even if they win out, they hold tiebreakers with nobody. The Chargers should get the 10 wins. Chargers beat us. I don't know if anyone forgot about that. Chargers literally beat us. So they would be getting in over us. Denver's 9-2. They're in. New England's 9-2. They still play the Jets. A couple other teams. So they'll be at least 12 wins. Colts are 8-2. They're going to be in. The AFC North has to get somebody in. Pittsburgh or Baltimore. One of those teams is guaranteed a spot. So you're looking for a wild card here. Buffalo, 7 wins. They play the Browns. They play the Bengals. They play the Jets. They're going to get to at least 11 wins. So, yeah, Buffalo's not falling off anytime soon. If they were going to lose a game, it would have been today to Tampa Bay. The Chargers, like I said, they're 7-4. They already have us head-to-head, so they're not even 3 games ahead of us because we're 4-7. They're 7-4, but it's a 4-game lead for the Chargers, not a 3-game lead because obviously they beat us head-to-head. So the Chargers, they are comfortably ahead of us. They play the Raiders in 2 weeks. They play the Texans, the Cowboys. So they just play bad teams. So again, they're going to get to at least 10 wins as well. Like I said, the best the Dolphins can do is 10 wins. And I'm telling you right now, the Chargers are going to get to 10 wins. The Bills are going to get to 10 wins. So there's only one wildcard spot left. The Jaguars winning today against the Chargers really threw a wrench in any plan the Dolphins had to make in the playoffs. The Jaguars are now 6-4. They play the Cardinals, the Jets, and the Titans twice. Yes, I said the Titans twice. So they have 2 more games against the Titans. Cardinals, Titans, Jets. The Jaguars, that should be 4 free wins. But I'll let you say the Jaguars choke 1 and go 3-1. That's at least 9 wins for the Jaguars. They also play the Colts twice. They usually split with the Colts, but, either way, the Jaguars likely going to get to 10 wins. So that, and again, I've already run the simulations. The Dolphins, if they get to 10 wins, would not be in over the Jaguars because the Jaguars have a common opponent win over the Dolphins. The Jaguars beat the Chargers. The Dolphins did not beat the Chargers. So if those 3 teams are tied, they'd be common opponent, whatever. So even if the Dolphins win out, not going to pass Jacksonville probably. Chiefs also are 5-5. Are the Chiefs just going to stop winning? I mean, come on. The Chiefs are obviously going to win some games down the stretch. Like, the Chiefs are going to get to 10 wins. That's pretty obvious. They're not going to just, lose games. Oh, the Dolphins will just pass the Chiefs. Not happening. They play the Titans. They play the Raiders still, so the Chiefs are going to have 7 wins at least. They play the Texans, who can't score points. They'll have at least 8 wins. You're telling me Mahomes and the Chiefs are not going to get 10 wins? Come on. So there's just too many teams to pass. Again, Baltimore and Pittsburgh are going to win games. So even if Miami wins the next 6 games, which they're not going to, that's the whole point here. They were 2-7. They're not going to win 8 games in a row because they're not good enough to win 8 games in a row. That's number one. They also play against Pittsburgh and Tampa Bay and New England at New England. They're not winning 8 games in a row. They'll lose all 3 of those games. But my point is, why are we even talking playoffs right now? I don't even know why I spent 5 minutes talking about it. It's not happening. So, again, I'm not rooting for losses. I'm not rooting for anything specifically. I'm just saying that if you're actively cheering for another 7-10 finish, what are we doing here? It's really just, these are all meaningless wins. I mean, I'm just straight up saying it. These are the game's on tape. I'm going to rewatch the tape and see what happens, but they're not meaningful wins by any stretch of the imagination. So for the people that are saying this is going to save everyone's job, these aren't meaningful wins. The meaningful wins came 2 Decembers ago when we didn't win any of those games, or the December before that where we blew the Christmas game against Green Bay, or when we blew the Buffalo game and we couldn't score against the Chargers. 2022 season when we were 8-3 and lost 5 in a row. The 2023 season when we were 9-3 and then lost to the Titans. And then we were 11-4, and then lost 2 in a row at the end of the year, 3 in a row if you include the playoff game at Kansas City. Those were the meaningful games to win. These late season meaningless games are just that, meaningless. I mean, they're not important. So again, I love seeing the Dolphins play well. They did not play well today, so I have nothing good to say because they didn't play well. There's some players that played well, but again, overall here, the Dolphins were not adequate enough. They played over 4 quarters of football, and they scored 16 points. So had 1 touchdown. And again, I also got a lot of comments about why is this the team that played against Buffalo last week? And of course, it's not the team that played against Buffalo last week. This is the NFL is an every week season. It's not a linear season. It's like, oh, they did this last week, so they have to do this week. That's not how the NFL works at all. And like I said about Buffalo last week, Buffalo coming off that win over Kansas City, of course, was going to let down it being a letdown spot against the Dolphins, who were lowly 2-7. I didn't think they were going to lose the game, but Buffalo coming off win against Kansas City. You're then playing a team that's such a lesser caliber. You play up to competition, you play down to competition. So the Dolphins played up to the Bills competition. And then this week they play against a backup quarterback. And, that's how NFL teams look. This isn't a Dolphins issue only. That just happens. I mean, Atlanta beat Buffalo down and then lost by 30 to us. So it's very common. We've seen it around the league. So I did not think, I don't know why people thought the Dolphins were just going to be taking what they did last week and look even better against it. And that's not, the NFL is not black and white like that. But again, I've spent enough time about this game, and I've gotten 0 sleep because, again, Saturday night, the UFC fights ran long. And then obviously I had to be up at 9 a.m. to watch the Dolphins game. So, and it was a great slate of games today, by the way. So I couldn't even get a power nap in the 4 o'clock window. All these games were incredible today. So just now getting this out. Either way, again, the Dolphins have a bye week coming up, so we'll see what happens there. But there's some winnable games on the stretch. No doubt about that. It looks like they're going to probably, by mid-December, find themselves in the hunt playoff graphic at the very bottom of it. It's like, oh, yeah, the Dolphins are still hanging around there at 6-7, 6-8. But other than that, because, again, it's not a really meaningful win. But they did win the game against the Commanders. They made enough plays. They were able to finally capitalize off of a numerous amount of Washington mistakes. and they got the win. So 16-13, nice win for the Dolphins. They have 2 weeks off to get ready for the Saints, who don't have a quarterback, and then the Jets, who don't have a quarterback. So we'll see how that goes. Until next time, go Dolphins, and yeah,